In this video, I'm going to talk about psilocybin therapy, magic mushroom therapy, versus traditional talking therapy. My name is Alice. I'm from A Whole New High. Welcome to our channel. So what is traditional talking therapy? I think most people know you go to a trained psychotherapist into usually their office, and you sit down and you have about an hour or an hour and a half where you speak about your problems. Your psychotherapist or your psychologist listens, and they usually don't give a lot of advice. They try to help you find your own inner guidance, and you go there usually on a weekly basis, maybe a monthly basis, and build a connection with them to help you with your problems. Now, what is psilocybin therapy? Psilocybin, or magic mushrooms or magic truffles, are being consumed, and it is about a 6-hour trip on average. And you come with an intention, or you talk to your psilocybin therapist beforehand to find the right intention for you. Maybe you have a problem, maybe you have depression, PTSD, anxiety, maybe you just want to find more meaning in life, maybe you feel your life is dull, maybe you feel like you're stuck in a job you don't like and you don't know how to create change. All the same reasons you can go to traditional therapy, that you talk to your psilocybin therapist, and together you're going to set one intention for the psilocybin journey, and then you will go usually to a country where it's legal to consume psilocybin, the Netherlands being one of them, and then you will come consume the psilocybin and go on a usually 6-hour journey to discover what is beneath your intention, or like to guide you through something, to bring up something from your subconscious mind to heal whatever you're going through. And there are different forms of psilocybin therapy. One form would be that you go through the journey mainly by yourself. The therapist is just there to keep you safe and help you to breathe through your problems. Like when challenges come up, they will bring you back to your breath and do the therapy before and after. Or there is another way, is where the therapist actually does therapy with you when you are on the psilocybin journey. So the psilocybin journey could bring up, say if you have a depression and your intention is you want to feel joy again, or you just want to feel like you want to be alive again. So the psilocybin journey could bring up memories from your childhood. These could just be emotional memories where the therapist can then engage in the moment with you to heal these memories, traumatic memories usually. And yeah, so these are the two forms of psilocybin therapy. And what are the benefits of traditional therapy? Like, I'm going back to traditional talk therapy now. The benefit is that you create a safe connection with your therapist that you will usually see on a weekly or monthly basis. So, which means that you have like a time and space where you can go to and express yourself, and you have somebody there who is able to hear you, so you feel heard, you feel seen, and yeah, you just create a safe connection with a person. Like, some of us don't really have a safe connection in our family or in our friendships or partnerships because we feel that we can't share some things, that will show some parts of ourselves. So that is really important if you have a therapist, that you can go there to share these parts of yourself that you can't share with anyone else, and create this safe connection with the therapist. The weaknesses of this therapy, this is my personal opinion, is that it is really hard by talking with someone to go deep into the emotional body. And lots of our trauma, to really heal it, we have to go into the emotional body. So I just want to explain you quickly how it works. When you're a child and you experience something, and that can be as bad as like a war or sexual abuse, but it can be something as little as when you're angry and your parents send you alone into your room to think about what you have done. Being a child, connection is the most important thing in the world to you. So if you're being isolated, that can be highly traumatic to your child. It depends on the sensitivity level of the child and how much trust there is between the child and the parents. So trauma happens when your nervous system gets overloaded and you can't deal with the emotion that you're feeling. So you have to, because you're overloaded, dissociate from your momentary state of being, because you can't find relief for this emotion. There is nobody there to help you through, like no adult, no caregiver to help you through. It is too much for your system to handle. So you just split it off your consciousness and keep it away. But it doesn't mean that it was solved. These are the moments that come back in adult life when suddenly we react to something seemingly little really intensely, and we can't explain why. It's because this thing that happened in adult life triggered this old memory and triggered that emotion that we never processed to come back up, because now we are adults and we can process them now if we know how, or if we have the support to how. So this is how trauma works. This is how we end up with problems we can't explain when we're adults. And traditional talking therapy is really, really helpful if we have the trauma of not being heard in our childhood. So if we've had a family that would humiliate us because we were speaking about our feelings or showing our feelings, or if we would explain something, they would humiliate us, or they would just ignore us, neglect us. Like if we have the feeling that we're not being heard as a child, then talking therapy is really helpful, because you feel hurt. You have someone you can create a safe connection with, and you feel heard and seen. But if you have trauma that is not related to that, I mean, all trauma is kind of related to that, but if you want to reach like your deepest fears, it's really hard to do that in talking therapy. The reason for that is that we often go into fight and flight mode about the trauma itself. So say we have been spanked as a child, and we can't even remember because it was really traumatic for us to be hit by somebody that we loved, and we didn't understand why they would do such a thing. So maybe you can't even remember it, like completely blocked it out. Now, in that moment of being spanked, your nervous system would have gone into the fight and flight mode. This is a mode for the body, that when the body goes into that mode, like this is some place where you can't really explain yourself or explain your feelings. You're just feeling this intensity of feelings and you don't know what to do with them. It's the survival mode. It just wants to make you to, like, it just wants you to run away or to fight or to dissociate. And you'll do one of these three in a situation like that. So now, later in life, if you try to approach this trauma through talking therapy, and say you can still remember that happened, but you try to go closer to the emotion that you felt, your fight and flight mode comes back on. And if you're in fight and flight mode, you can't talk. So in that moment, that's the weakness of the traditional talking therapy, is once you get close to a trauma like that, talking will not help you. You need to go deeper. You need to have someone guide you through your emotions and make you feel safe, not through talking, but maybe even through touching, but like touching you, just holding their hands and you, just make you feel safe, like nobody's hitting you right now. and it has to be done very intuitively and with consent of the person that is going through the trauma, of course, as well. So this is where psilocybin is really helpful to help with trauma like that. Of course, only if you do it together with a knowledgeable therapist. So you can go and you can discover memories that you had completely split off your consciousness. They can come back up. Sometimes it is just in form of an emotional memory and you don't really know what's happening. It's just the emotions that come back up. And in that moment, you just need to experience them. You don't necessarily need to talk through them. If, like some people do need to talk through them, but very often you just need to really feel that emotion and know that you are safe this time and not alone, so that your nervous system can process the emotion finally after many years that it hasn't been able to. So the therapist can create that safe space for you, and the psilocybin can create a safe space for you for this emotion to come up and to be fully processed. So the benefits of psilocybin therapy is that it can go really deep, and that it can really help you to reach difficult emotions and process difficult emotions. And it will also activate different brain regions. So it might make it easier for you to feel emotions that it's really hard to feel usually, because you have maybe childhood memories of, say, one emotion might have been really dangerous to feel. Like if your family did not like anger and sent you to your room every time that you expressed anger, it might be really difficult for you, or like really scary for you to feel anger. Or if you were humiliated every time that you cried, it might feel like horribly terrifying for you to go into the direction of tears, because you have repeatedly learned that it's unsafe. But because psilocybin also activates different brain region, it can make it easier for you to feel these emotions that you're usually really terrified of feeling. And you can relive very difficult memories, as I said, and this time create a different outcome, and create a safe scenario in which your nervous system can process the emotions that once were unprocessed. And that is why psilocybin therapy works for people that have depression for years and they've tried all different kind of therapies and nothing worked. Like 80% feel really strong improvement after one psilocybin therapy session, which doesn't necessarily last for a year, but it lasts for a while, and then you can do another psilocybin therapy session. Now, the weakness of psilocybin therapy session is that if your therapist is not a good therapist, it can re-traumatize you. Or if you try to do it alone at home, it can re-traumatize you. It can put you back into a very traumatic memory. And if you don't know how to handle this memory, it will just overflood your nervous system again, like it did when you were a child. And it may make it worse. The other weakness is, which is not actually a weakness, but the psilocybin therapy can be very strong to your system and can bring up things that you were not aware of. So to give you an example from me, I was not aware that I was a very anxious person, and after a few psilocybin journeys, I realized that I was actually really anxious. But I realized that I had already been very anxious before, luckily. Some people don't realize it, so they thought that before they were a really calm, relaxed person, and suddenly they feel really anxious just because they have now more awareness of their anxiety. But then they think that the psilocybin therapy actually created the anxiety, which it didn't. It just it's like peeling an onion, this therapy. So you have protective layers, and if you take the protective layers down, the next layer comes, and that might be that you have anxiety or PTSD that you didn't have before. So you need to be prepared for that. And another weakness of psilocybin therapy is that you can't do it on a weekly basis or even monthly basis. The best would be to do it like maximum 4 times a year, but the best would be every 6 months until you really feel like you healed your trauma. But the best thing is if you combine the two. If you can find a psilocybin therapist who can also do talking therapy with you, that would be ideal. So you can create a relationship with this therapist and meet them on a weekly basis or monthly basis, and they can accompany your integration of the psilocybin therapy. But because psilocybin therapy is only legal in very few countries in the world, it is very, like, you will either have online sessions with a therapist, but if you want to have one-on-one therapy sessions for talking therapy, you can also have a different talking therapy, or you can have a different talking therapist to your psilocybin therapist, and you come once, twice a year to your therapist in a legal country where you can do your psilocybin therapy legally and continue to work with your traditional talking therapist at home afterwards and beforehand. So if you combine the two, you will surely move forward in whatever the problem is that you have at the moment. And if you do decide to do psilocybin therapy, or if you already have tried it, or if you have done traditional talking therapy, please comment about your experience below. We would love to hear your feelings and your thoughts about it. And if you have anything to add that I have forgotten to say, that I have left out, or if you have any questions, please comment below, let us know. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and hope to see you here again. Thank you very much, and see you next time.